Hello, hello, hello.
Wait a minute, shorties. We gotta let the people come in. We can't jump all over the place.
Gonna let you guys log in. I'll be right back.
That's right.
Right back. Yeah, juice.
Peace, family. Greetings to the family. Good evening. Salute to everyone. We're gonna have a beautiful conversation with our sister Kaleema, and my special guest, Wisdom, joining us. Hey, greetings.
Greetings, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum
Peace.
salam. How are you?
I'm fine with the help of God.
Indeed, definitely.
Thank
Well,
you for first of all giving me the opportunity to share what's been on my heart since last Melanin Monday, actually. So,
right. Indeed. Definitely excited to have you as a guest on Monday to
yes.
share the stage and bring some divine feminine energy to the conversation, because we've been having a lot of brothers get up there and speak to people. We've been having a lot of sisters get up there and also talk to the family, and we've been performing, getting music and whatnot. But I want to definitely continue that conversation. I want to keep that energy going. I want to tap into the divine feminine. We're in Atlantis.
Right. Yes, sir. Definitely pretty much, I just wanted to give everyone the greetings, and I pray that anything. So I'm just going to give like a little dosage of what's going to be going on this Monday.
Yes.
And I just pray that anything I say goes into the hearts and minds, of the people. And I think the perspective, because this is kind of it's kind of a little intimate because we trying to get a few people in here. But it's like, when you're looking at the presence of God. So I'm talking about, the beauty within the evolved man and the presence of God. And I believe that in this time it's important for us to get a perspective of the woman and how that divine femininity, but on the front line speaking as a teacher, is important because, a lot of time you see like ministers as males and as men, but it's very rare that you have a woman who has a heart to speak in front of, possibly more than hundreds of people.
Right.
I'm ready to speak because I feel like Allah has placed something on my heart. And I just wanted to read this because as a woman, yes, I am, infused with my emotional femininity, but just to kind of give a structure to this conversation and to add a balance, I don't want to stray away, so I wrote something.
Okay, please deliver. Share with the family.
So it says, greetings, peace, assalamu alaikum, ashe. I said, I pray that everything I say today goes into the hearts and minds of anybody viewing this with the intention of deep love. I am here to announce that I am a bearer of witness to the presence of God existing within man. I pray that I pray that anything I say that you think may offend you, I would like you to remove your emotional expression and tap into your higher mind and observe the thought. I am not your enemy, and I am not your friend. And whether you know it or not, we are at war. And I've simply been given an outlet to bring awareness to a man-made construct of thought that exists within the original man as a mental virus today. As a youth, I was given clear instructions In all of my life, I've studied the sickness within man, woman, child, and even, yes, the infant. The more I studied this germ that exists in man, I began to become emotionally infused with rage, and I became dissatisfied with everything. The more I studied, the more I became dissatisfied. I realized that my emotions and the way I felt in my heart was not going to help me. I realized that strategic planning and work was the only thing going to be the cause of our liberation to destroying this mental virus. I also realized that teaching alone was not going to cure the filthy thoughts within the minds of our people. We are in a paradigm shift. What you are experiencing is a falling of a system and a rebirthing of a nation. And we are fed up, not just the Black woman, not just the Black man, but our youth are also on the front lines. The rise of the Black nation is here. We will establish peace, order, schools, land, and structure. So my message is only a reminder to those who oppose the rise of our Black nation, which will only cause a rise to all nations.
That's right.
That the words of Muhammad and the works of Muhammad spoken are not in vain, and that his soldiers are on the front line today, and we are ready to take our positions and to speak to the conscious minds of our people, to awaken the masses, to continue to build. And because I love the conscious community, and I love the fact that you all have been on the front line as well, healing our communities, with Dr. Sebi, giving us our medicine. This is our birthright.
That's
The
right.
universe is our birthright.
That's right.
The sun, moon, and stars is our birthright. Supreme wisdom was instilled in me as a child. We were taught to memorize this.
Right.
Because when we put this to memory, it changes the thought, which changes the actions, which changes the words that we speak, which changes the habits of man.
That's right.
You could be doing something and you could literally be working on something, but if you've been focused on something else, your actions may say otherwise.
That's
so
right.
It all depends on what you put inside of your mind. I thank you all because you have done everything you could possibly do to heal our communities. Now it is time for those of you who know the truth and I'm speaking to home, to speak it and work on mastering obedience to God. In this time, your righteousness shall sustain you. We are all righteous. We just have to stop lying to ourselves and put in that work to measure up. Not to measure up in a system of white supremacy, to be our white supremacist, former slave master, but to be accepted by God. Who is God? To be accepted by, as you have on a crown, so you recognize your power. And I bow to that because I know that you recognize your power. So in that, we have to start to develop in our children's minds. So yes, we need to build schools, hospitals, housing. You have some of us who've dedicated our lives to this creed.
Right.
You feel me, brother?
Yes, indeed.
So with you dedicating your life to this mission, you have to take it serious. Because when I joined the ranks of Muhammad, knowing and recognizing that Master Farad Muhammad is God in person, you had to understand that, and you had to take a conscious effort to say, I believe. So now that you believe, what are you going to do after your belief? If you want to begin to continue to study the process of God, study yourself, discipline yourself, and enroll yourself in the process of the renewing of the mind.
Right, right.
You know, I don't know if you wanted to say something after that, but it's
That's
just a lot, you know, being a Black woman in America, you know, coming up in a house who, you know, striving to, my parents are both Muslim and were in the Nation of Islam and registered when they were 16 years old. But I'm just bringing conscious awareness to what I know to be true and good for our people. And
right.
I'm just saying it's a fight. When I say it's a fight, I mean it's a day-to-day fight, because you are confronted every day that you practice with the self-accusing spirit. And with that self-accusing spirit, you're bringing consciousness to the presence of God every time you dwell in his teaching. Every time you are a witness to what God produced and made for you.
Well, my way of seeing it is that every day that you're tempted, all of these different turns where you were given the choice, this goes back to the man and their willpower.
Right,
And
absolutely.
are in control of our destiny based off of the turns that we decide to make.
Yes, sir.
Now, if the teachings are right and exact, and if the teachings are, if the foundation of the teaching is strong, it's almost every day the temptations are almost akin to every day being in the gym and being challenged with a 10, 20, 30, and 40-pound weight. As long as you continue to push those weights, as
Right.
long as you resist those, as long as you resist the temptation,
Everything is an opposition.
that's right. And and the opposition comes across to those who are sometimes being defeated by the push. It comes across as there's too much weight on my shoulders, or it's too heavy.
Right.
But those who understand that when we are in the light, the teachings is the light, right? The teaching
Right.
of the prophet, the teaching of the messenger, the preparation, the prep work. The prep work was you and your household getting the gems, getting the jewels, being groomed, like how I'm grooming the
Yes,
pink,
sir.
right? She's 7, so she's being groomed. She's been groomed from, you know, from her birth. And when she goes into the world, the challenging of the challenges that the world is going to bestow upon her is
Oh,
going to,
yes, sir.
right, it's
This
going to be,
world,
no, it's going to be there. There's no doubt about it that gravity is going to take place.
right. And like
Meaning,
I'm saying, that
mhm,
old construct of the thinking wants to break her. So
right,
she has to be aware of that before she goes out into the playing fields.
right,
She has
right,
to know, you're doing this to oppose me purposely. This is what you are naturally created to do. You've created a system who is naturally supposed to oppose my mission and my purpose.
right, right.
So yes, every day it's a workout, a
And
mental workout.
that's right. The caveat in the whole situation is the same caveat that we use when we go to the gym. although
Right.
we're in pain, although we wake up sore, although it hurts, although we fall out with our trainers because we're cursing them out, because when they're pushing us, we think that they're pushing
Ooh,
literally.
teach.
We
Yes,
feel
sir.
being pushed. But what holds us is not necessarily belief. Because when you're in the gym and you're active, you went past belief. You gotta have faith.
Right.
You
Yes,
can't
sir.
believe that I'm gonna do another set. Belief does
Teach.
not
Yes,
put
sir.
you into the second win. Faith does.
Mm.
So faith without works.
It's
So
dead.
right. So the faith is that I have faith in my higher self. I'm being tempted by the world. I'm being tempted by this construct. Like you said, this is a patriarchal construct. There was a
Ooh,
Western construct. It was designed to be what? It's built on a capitalistic system. It's
yes,
meant
sir.
to Rome. It has a lot of quote unquote malware in the programming. Now, we know that the foundation of some of these governments were like the Aboriginal, indigenous, like the Iroquois Confederation, the confederacies, men and women who were considered to be of higher civilization.
Right.
They created these constitutions, but the Europeans created the amendments. They
Right.
created the loopholes. They
Right.
created adages and whatnot. So
Mm-hmm.
here we have something truthful mixed with something strange and false.
Mm-hmm.
The constant struggle. I'm talking about we who are in the light are almost akin to the coal that's going through the pressure to become the diamond that it is. Because what
Yes,
does
sir.
it prepare you for? And I ask people, what does comedic science prepare you for? What does Morris science prepare you for? And if you're in the book and you're wrapped up in Hebrew or Israelite biblical lore, all of these books are preparing you for the inevitable, right?
Right.
The inevitable, which is to tap into a higher realm when we finish this one test on this plane right here and we expire,
Right.
right?
And I feel like truth, the importance of truth in its proper time, it depends on the effect that it has on the people. So you can have a particular truth and it could have been good and purposeful for that time.
For that
But
time.
truth out of its proper timing, it's not false, but it is not going to help the development of the growth of man. Because
Right.
here you have problems plaguing our communities. So we can't all the time, you know, go too far back. Of course, we want to go far back to understanding where we came from, but we also want to be able to cut it short. Say this is the issue. This
Right.
is the nature. This
Right.
is what your goal is. And this, if you practice and you stay the course, then you're going to end up manifesting into reality back to your original self. Because
Definitely.
even with in the nation we speak about Yakub and how he created the devil and
Right.
how he created a white race, and this white race is supposed to, this is just not a story made up. This is an actual fact. But this white race was to rule over the original nations for
Right.
6,000 years. When you realize that and you start to understand that God allowed this to happen, what did what seeped into the mind of the black man, original man, to allow this to happen? So we have to ask ourselves,
Mhm.
this was brought out of us. Yakub was not a white man.
It's grafted.
Yakub, exactly. Yakub was a black man, and he was a half original man. So no. Yakub was a black man. Sorry, I want to get this right. So he was black, but his ideas weren't the same as what his father was teaching at the time, which was, it had people in balance. So what he was teaching, as far as, you know, getting to, you said grafted, but I don't want people to think grafted out of their skin color. I want people to think grafting is a process of taking something from its original state,
Right.
and adding to it and subtracting from it, developing it into another state. So here you have a man who has the mind where he has been grafted in his environment, and he have been conflicted in his environment, and he chose to bring upon an existence through his practices and behaviors and characteristics. He brought about a whole new man.
That's right.
So
man.
that is the grafted man.
That's
and
right.
We are trying to figure out the pieces in understanding where did this essence of grafted and what is it? It's the type of intelligence that you have. It's like it's a manipulated intelligence.
Like
where you have intelligence.
A parasitic, predatory,
deceptive intelligence.
Yes.
That's what he used. That's what he used. His mind had grasped the understanding of being deceptive, lying, stealing. But he's in the midst of righteous people who are so righteous, and they've been working. And I'm going to come to a close. I know I can go on and on. But people who have been working, and they're saying, be and it is. We're going to build this. We're going to do this. We're going to get it done. But here you have a grafted mind who has deceptive intelligence. And now he's going into the communities, and he's teaching people of his mind. This is like some sort of disorder.
Right.
This is some sort of disorder that has been brought to the mind of a black man in a position to where he can influence other men to think like him, because his thinking was different. So now he can manipulate people. He could say, look, I'm going to do this. I'm going to tell him I'm going to do this, but I'm really going to do this.
Right.
So now that deceptive intelligence have creeped into the original. And now in flesh, you have it in our former slave master, the white man. And when you study his nature and his what is it? When you study his nature, you realize that we have opposing nature as righteous people. Because when you put us in an environment to work on ourselves after being raised up with intelligence, we change.
I mean,
change.
I don't mean to cut your wisdom, but you don't really have to look any further than into the nation, especially the earlier generations, because of what was taking place during the heroin epidemic, right? Which had a greater impact in Black America than the crack epidemic. The reason why I say that is because we did not see anything that was as devastating before it came, right?
Right.
When it came, we already saw heroin. So it didn't affect, it wasn't like a complete, it wasn't shock and awe. Heroin was the shock and awe. Right. So to see what they did to raise our brothers and sisters up who were dope dealers, pimps, prostitutes, killers, gamblers, hustlers, and bring these brothers and sisters up, clean them up. I'm talking about to where these men and women were glowing.
All praise to Allah.
Right? These men and women were glowing. They were their crown chakras were activated, and they might not have been aware as to what a crown chakra was. But just because you don't know what a pineal gland is and what a chakra system is in those days and times, because like you said earlier, information is time release, the same way that these quote unquote time periods for these eras that we're in.
Yes, sir.
doesn't run congruent at the same time. It's all dealing with divine timing and whatnot. So
Divine timing.
yes, so we are in a precarious time. We're in 2020. 2020 is a mirror reflection of 1920, which was considered to be the Roaring Twenties. The Roaring Twenties came about after a calamity. The Roaring Twenties came about after a pandemic, right? And then you had a depression and whatnot. The Roaring Twenties was our Renaissance. It was our Renaissance in the arts, and it was
Right.
in the sciences, because the 20s began to ball, that began to roll, and we're still, or that wheel is that Ezekiel's wheel that began to roll 100 years ago is still rolling to this day. The fact that me and you were on this live sharing information and dropping gems and whatnot, we're both directly influenced by that wheel that began to roll during that Renaissance. So 100 years later, there's cop killings, there's riots. The two of, I don't want to jump all over the place, but two major TV shows, Lovecraft Country County and also Watchmen, they both reference the Black Wall Street Massacre, which is in its 99-year anniversary. That to me is the ancestors speaking out, because they're gonna make themselves known through cinema, through music, through the arts and whatnot.
Right. Anyway.
Anyway,
Any outlet.
yeah, it's how the dry bones cry. And now that people know about it, it's freeing these souls that were buried for about 100 years and damn near forgotten. Now I just had an article where they're digging and they're finding mass graves in Tulsa, Oklahoma, 100 years later. That has something, that being on TV and being embossed in the pineal and in the minds of millions of people at the same time, and then they go on social media to talk about it and research it. Its impact. So we're living in a loop. We're living in this time where the 100-year cycle is back, and it's here for a reason. It's divine. I don't feel like I believe. I know that there's a renaissance going on all around us. You know, we just don't give it these names and whatnot, but it's so renaissance like.
Right. It's a paradigm shift.
It's a super shift. 2020 was uncomfortable for many, but 2020 is a year of dualities. It's a half full, half empty, and my cup runneth over at the same time. It's not one or two. It's not good or bad. It's not joy or pain. It's joy, pain, and rain, sunshine, rainbows, and an earthquake.
Yes, sir.
So
yes, sir.
to be able to be grateful, to have the grace and favor of the great ones, because the great ones will make themselves known through intelligence, right? How else is the great ones are going to manifest through your DNA, not just in your looks, not just in the way that you sing and whatnot, not just in your, it's going to have to be in your intellect, because that's the highest form of expression. Yes, so sir. For those who are bestowed with intellect in a day and the age where people are being dumbed down, like you said earlier when you opened up, I have to give honor and praise. You know, we have to be able to be appreciative and be thankful that we're joined by brothers and sisters who are brave enough to be smart in America in 2020. Because we know a few years ago you were shamed. You know, they say slut shaming and whatnot. But what about being smart shaming?
Right.
How many of us went through that in our lives? How many of us traumatized from being smart shamed?
Right.
And we were cosplaying, you know, knuckle draggers. Cosplaying, meaning that you were playing a role. You are not yourself. Right. You don't, like Kendrick Lamar said, you don't got a lie to kick it. So many people are lying to kick it. They're trying to be a, you know, what would Kendrick do? What would Jigga do? What would Biggie do?
What would God do?
What would Cardi do? Everybody's in that what would somebody do mind state, and not thinking for themselves, because intelligence breeds confidence.
Absolutely.
When these crowns are secure, and it's not just something that you wear, but it's your mind state, and you know that you're divinely connected to the sun, the moon, and the stars, you're just going to move differently. You're not going to think about what another person is going to do. You're going to connect to a higher realm. You're going to connect to what would Venus do?
Yes, sir. Right.
What would Allah do? And there's so many lessons. If you because people spend so much time on picking out what's different in another person because they don't follow their walk and whatnot. And my whole thing is, every single one of those books that are considered to be either religious books or books of thought and knowledge, there's enough information in each one of those books to hold a person over for a while.
Yes, sir. That's very true.
And if you were a true student or a true adept to any of the quote unquote schools of thought and knowledge, you would appreciate your brothers and sisters that are in other schools and thought and knowledge.
Yes, sir.
Because if I'm studying medicine, I'm going to give it up to the people studying law because I see the connection. Then I'm going to go to the school of science and I'm going to want to shake their hand because I know that I'm going to want to meet the engineers and whatnot because I know.
And this is about unity. You
right.
know, even if the black woman is speaking and the black man is speaking, we're taught that a nation can rise no higher than its woman. So it makes no sense for a man to know something in his mind and to travel to these different schools of knowledge, but then the woman cannot stand on the front line and also be a teacher and also be a trainer, also be of the intellectual, self.
Right.
These are the things that, this world wasn't made to balance man, because this world, America was not made with the intentions of giving black people and letting them be God, be who
right.
they are without the shackles, without the system, without the ghettos in America. You get what I'm saying?
I definitely do. I want to harken back on something that you just brought up, and I want you to expound on it because I don't want to speak for the opposite gender. I'm honored that you're here. I want to have these conversations. These are therapeutic. There's people out here that will never have the opportunity to sit in front of a goddess, you know what I mean, and hear her intellectual, vision or the way that she sees things. So you said that a nation can rise no higher than its woman, right? So can we please just unpack for a minute, what is the state of the black woman right now as a whole, and
the black man. Sorry, you done?
Yes, I.
Okay. I'm not. Okay. So I didn't mean to interrupt your wisdom.
Not at all.
That's what you say. I just wanted to give you back how you would normally say it. So I know that within this world, the black man has been destroyed. And that means that, and I'm going to go into the black woman, that means that his powers have been taken and sucked from him. And the woman was used as a tool in helping his destruction. So the woman in America has been corrupted.
Right.
Because anytime you touch a woman, she's going to give you back 10 times what you gave to her. And as women, we're so intelligent that we could see God and we can have the emotions to rebirth him. For who? That black man. So giving the woman balance is introducing her to who that black man is. So yes, the black man and black woman has to come together, and the black woman is destroyed because when they came into our way of living in our country, and they said, and you making me go into stuff that I'm trying to teach about on Melanin Monday.
I mean, give them, scratch the surface.
But when they came into our environment to destroy us, you know, with the evil intent, they first of all stripped away our clothes.
Right.
We were clothed. We were civilized.
Right.
But they knew that if they got us, you know, they described, you know, this way of living. Oh, you're going to be living, and then they got us on these ships and they slammed the doors, and they didn't explain to us what was going to happen further. We just had faith because we were righteous, but they stripped our women. They lied to our men. They murdered our men and watched us watch them. So if you want to think about the emotional input that's in our DNA that we are fighting, we have to be aware that don't fight the black man. Teach him. You don't tell nobody what to do, because telling, you don't know how they are supposed to. And you teach her how she is supposed to. Because in this means that it's submission. It's saying, I respect you as a human being with the intelligent mind, that you are able to perceive reality in the same way that I perceive it. So when the devil said, we're going to give her a job, and we're going to flood the community with crack, and we're going to flood the community with drugs. We're going to flood the community with GMO foods. We're going to flood the community, give the women jobs, make it rain on a woman. As long as she submits to our power. This is how they are taking and destroying the black man in America. And I would be pissed. I would be pissed, because watching it and knowing the secretness within the man, knowing the sacredness within the woman, we're fighting. But no, don't fight. Understand. If you don't like the way somebody do something, understand why they're doing it. Understand why they're away. Because they may have been brought up in this world with the mind, with the righteous mind, with righteous intent, being reared amongst people who have this constructive thought.
Right.
So even though the woman, you know, over time, when you start to break down the woman, we take in so much on a daily basis, and we try to understand things with our emotions, and then to rise above these emotions and to rationalize our emotions and thinking like, how would the black man think?
Right.
Who's teaching that? Who's teaching how this black man thinks? Because his rise means our rise. Our rise, the original, not the grafted, means the black man's rise.
That's right.
So the woman has been destroyed. And we have to know that, because that's something that we have to grow out of to change.
Right, right. Are you familiar with vassals?
No, sir, explain.
Or I believe it's called vassalage. When a kingdom or a nation is conquered, they become what is known as a vassal state to the nation that conquered them.
Right. And I was just thinking about this because, you know, a lot of people come from other countries, right, and they try to give the black original man in America advice and, you know, rearing, and this is what you should do. And that helps. But your country has been conquered.
Right.
So we've been affected by it personally.
Right.
On a level to where you don't even understand my mind, because we were brought here under restraints, and the stronger ones were killed off. So you see us, our flesh, you can even see our flesh has been tampered with. But right, you can see us, but you don't understand that we're fighting to not be like him. We're fighting to not be conquered. We're
Right.
fighting for a sovereignty in America, to be separate.
So definitely, I mean, all autonomy, the idea of sovereignty, and like you said earlier, reclaiming our birthright is something that we should be willing to do for until our inevitable days. I want to share something with you though, because I want to show you your power as the divine feminine, and I want to speak on influence because people talk about influencers or being in the influencer age. One of the powers of being in the influencer age is that we could see the lesson being taught in quote unquote modern day time on the power of influence, right? The
Yes,
power of
sir.
influence could be seen just in the moves that the influencers are making.
That's why you have to be careful, and you have to walk your way of life in your purpose in a perfect manner, keeping always on the alert. Not to say that you're perfect, but
Right.
you're constantly striving. In any flaw that you have, you make known that you're working on that day in and day out.
Right. So, and I agree. Now, as a man, the power of the influence of the black woman is so powerful and is so influential that
You go build school for that black woman.
so beyond that, we
You
would
go build a universe.
we will take over. We will rebuild the universe. She
Right.
is our driving. She low key. She is the driving force. All of this, right? Everything that we do, our beautification process, even though it's not as extreme as the divine feminines, you know, we need a shape up and you know, and we probably good to go.
And even with the intuition of a woman, even back when we were in our, more original state, which
Right.
we're going to get further into,
Right.
the black man looked at the black woman to see what was good for him and what wasn't. He knew that if this didn't help her, then this won't help me, because why? We are sensitive.
Thank
Things
you.
that the black man would ignore because he's so focused on rearing and bringing in things to his existence, birthing things in his mind, bringing it to reality.
Right.
He's taking hits, scars, going through this thing like a G. But he got her on the side of him, so he like, dang, she's getting hit. So what do I need to do to strategically move better in this world? Because this is the woman the woman is like the mind, the second self of God.
That's what I'm trying to get to that, and I'm saying that the influence of your mind,
Oh, yes, sir.
the magnetic force, because you're tied into the magnetosphere, right?
Yes, sir.
Stronger pull to the magnetic fields that we have. You are the magnet, right? So the same way that you said that you could see God in a man, you could pull it out of him. How? By being the magnetic one that you are. What do you mean? When women pour into men, right?
Yes, sir.
It's like pouring water on a seed. You do what? You allow us to blossom. There's no man walking this planet in a full flowered blossom phase, and it was not done by the watering of either his mother or some kind of divine feminine power. It doesn't have to be a sexual relationship. I have to use that disclaimer because there's men who are considered to be homosexual, and they are poured and loved by women, and they have blossomed and evolved into certain type of beings and whatnot without it being a physical relationship.
Right.
But there's still a magnetic relationship. There's still an AC/DC relationship. There's a feminine aspect that's pulling from him, and there's a masculine aspect that's resisting it. And like you said, if you see God in a man, it resurfaces. It comes from within. That's why they say God is within, because you could look into a Negro's eyes and be like, wait, I'm gonna wipe the crust off. Deep within the caverns of in the seat of your soul, I see Hiram Abiff. I see God sitting in there. And what do y'all do? You give a man encouragement. You put a mirror up to him and allow him to see a part of himself that he don't see. You ever seen a brother who was like wearing bifocals and he didn't necessarily have all of the confidence in the world? He with a girl who helped restore a kind of prowess, a kind of masculinity. She helped the bifocals came off. He wasn't even wearing contacts. He could see again. He got a new kind of swag about himself. It's almost as if he came out of a new skin. What did that? What that was the influence of the divine feminine. It was the influence of love, right? So that same type of influence works both ways, because if we belong to a culture and a generation where the bar has been set to where women were like, I'm okay with you selling crack, I'm okay with you robbing, I'm okay with you hustling, I'm okay with you taking penitentiary chances, I'm okay with you pimping, I'm okay with you doing all of this prison reform stuff, because you know what? You're bringing us. It was a false security. It was not real security. Even though he was paying the bills, that was a false security, because that was a dream. It didn't last long. It was a facade. It was like rubbing on a genie. If it drift, the money would the Gucci belts disappeared. The goddamn the Scarface paintings fell down. You know, all of that blood money. And all of these things that are illusional, it doesn't last. But I'm only saying this because we would never want to be at trial and then Johnny Cochran delivers the closing statement against the divine feminine and he tries to checkmate you. We don't want that to happen. So we're saying that men can blame women and say, you know what? Y'all accept this stuff. Y'all accept knuckle draggers. Y'all accept us in our monkey brain. Y'all accept us as thugs.
Hell no.
No, I'm just saying, because according to popular culture, that's still the operandi. We have not had the coronation where that statue didn't get toppled yet. The nigga statue is taller than the Jesus statue in Brazil.
We're gonna knock that down. Excuse me.
And I'm saying that it's y'all that could chip away at it, because to be honest with you, men will not move until the influencers tell them to move.
But that's about the role of the woman. The woman has to know her role. And if she is the one in the, if she has the mind, let's say it's a man, that can't speak, but he has the faith in his woman to say, okay, but, she's saying we need schools, hospital, housing, buy farmland, international trade. He's on that.
He's going to go get.
And then you have the mother as a teacher. But if it was flipped, then you have the woman in a row, but never are we going to surrender and submit to someone who has been known to cause harm to us.
Right.
None of that.
It would be foolish to do that.
We accepted you because we knew that as a man in your ego, in the man's ego, he had to put food on the table.
Right.
But now you had a messenger. You have warners, you have teachers, you have leaders, thought provokers who are telling you, you ain't got to do that no more. And now we need you in your body on this over here so that you can remove that false idol that was put in your head, that nigga mentality, that nigga life. Nah, you put on your crown, whether it's with crystals, whether it's with fabric, whether it's a kufi, whether it's a hijab, whether it's a headpiece.
Right.
You put on your crown and you make that movement necessary to change this false perception of who God is.
Right. That, no doubt. That's right and exact. And ultimately, the healing process that could take place if we were to just simply communicate about our roles,
Yes.
our influences, and who's the magnet and who's being magnetized, right? That's a role. You know, there's a plug and there's a socket, right? Those two apparatuses have two different roles.
Right.
The plug can't be the socket can't be the plug. The sun can't be the moon can't be the stars. We have been given divine stations in life. And although I know we are entering into what is known as the Aquarian age, and things are definitely beginning to change,
That's
they
it.
said that the poles are shifting.
Right.
And that would understand why the poles, the polarities in the genders are shifting. I get it. I do accept the fact that we are divinely tied into the universe. So when we see things happen above, we also see things happening below.
Right.
So if they had 100-degree day in Alaska and whatnot, or the Antarctics, I understand that we're in precarious times. So, you know, women are not going to necessarily have the role of women or what we thought women were supposed to have. And that's a whole nother thing. Is it a construct or is it divine? Are the, you know, who are the women that we can trust that are teaching us these things? Because I could learn it from one of my master teachers that are men, whatnot. But why not get it from mama? It hits differently. You are the first teacher.
Right.
So I feel that the divine matriarchy is definitely reestablishing and restoring itself.
Yes, sir.
In order for the divine masculine to even manifest and to feel comfortable being divine and masculine, it's going to take the you know, we're going to have to witness some things take place with the divine feminine. Because keep in mind, like I said earlier, we're in a 100-year cycle of divine masculinity expressing itself in the roles of messengers, prophets like El Malik Shabazz, like Farrakhan, like Elijah Muhammad, like Marcus Garvey, Noble Drew Ali. I could go on for days. It's made itself known. But, and it's another thing to show you the power of the divine feminine. None of them were single.
Right.
They were not bachelors when they were at their greatest.
Right.
Right?
Yes,
So
sir.
they're quote unquote, you know, they were complete because they were playing a game of chess and they were protecting a piece. They were not out there doing it on their own and for themselves. They were putting on for their progeny. And the progeny, if you see me putting on for my progeny, know that I'm the only reason why, or not the only reason, but the passion that I have in the progeny means because of the passion that I have for their mothers. You
Right.
can't,
And it should
you
be.
can't have one without the other.
Right.
So if somebody's like, yo, I'm putting on super hard for my children, it's only because we're fulfilling what we know the mama want us to do.
Right.
You know
Absolutely.
what I'm saying? If you birth the star seed, you're going to want the father to put on and knock down buildings to make sure that that seed is sitting on the throne and the child does not have to suffer and the mother does not have to scrape and see
Right.
their child suffer. That's the worst feeling in the world. So men, the frontline soldiers, the guards, we've been building and destroying. As you can see, even in our destructive phases, or even in our lower self, we still shining. We black diamonds, even in the mud. We
Right.
we have influenced the world, even in our what they call our Hiram Abiff, in a
Right.
shallow grave. We
Right.
still,
And they telling us to be humble. They telling you to be
right.
humble, black man, and you ain't even there yet.
You
You
ain't even
at
got
your
your hand
lowest,
in
and
the
they
grave
telling you
yet,
to be humble.
right? Because
Nah, sit down. Nah.
right.
Right.
So who's gonna make us wake up and roar? The divine feminine, the black goddess will bring us out of that grave.
We're
And
tired.
I'm begging you to pull us out. I'm begging you to give us
Tired.
the lion's
The
paw,
fight.
but the lion's paw that will pull us out of that grave. Because who else? Who else Where else will we get it from? So my thing is this: ever so often, y'all were being hoodwinked to pull us out the grave, and we was pulling you in that bitch. I seen it.
Yeah,
I seen
yeah,
it, and I'm gonna testify.
right.
So,
It's the love. It's the
right,
love where you like, okay, well, they not ready yet. Next generation. It was the love. Because we want to keep that part of you in the black man to say, he know what he's talking about. He know what he's doing. So if he's saying, trying to communicate to me, look, sister, look, mama, we gonna need some time. Then as a natural woman, you understand that. As a woman, you understand that. But now looking at you, my brother, you already knowing we at war. It's bad that by the time when a male is birthed and a female is birthed into this earth, they're balanced. But by the time that male gets 17, 18, the black woman outnumbers that man 7-1. So that means that in this world, the black man, before he even gets to 17 years old, his life is taken from him. And
right.
he has the woman outnumbering him 7-1. We are at war. So the BS, I'm not going for it. I never stood for that. If I see a man, I'm trying to raise him. I'm trying to bring his consciousness up if it's not already up.
That's right.
And I'm trying to encourage the black man to say, you think like that, that's good. This is what we need. Because this is the way that I am supposed to live. And that is peace. You want to see your brother killed? I don't. I ain't even produced a child yet, and that hurts to see my sister having to suffer to bury her son, having to bury her brother.
Mm.
It hurts, and I ain't even produced within my womb yet. So I'm thinking, are people sleep around me that they are we just so desensitized to this, to where we accept it? Why are you focused? And it's about keeping your mind under pressure. Me as a young girl, ever since I can remember, my mind has been under pressure because there's some things that I stood for, and there's some things that I didn't, and there's some things that I knew that in a moment I would die for. And I wanted to choose what is meant to live for, and what is meant to die for, and to kill for.
That's right.
So that's why it's like, you wouldn't dare touch one of mine.
That's right.
You wouldn't dare, because you know what's coming to you. I don't want a check. I don't want no money. I don't even want them to know that I'm about to be looking for whoever has caused harm or who buried mine.
Look, I don't.
Lives.
I don't.
That's how we all should think.
That's beautiful. I totally agree. The time is running out. We will be in Atlanta on Monday, family, at 640 Evans Street at the Unity Cafe. Melanin Mondays live. Sister Kaleema is our headline speaker. She is going to rock it.
My brother.
Right. You just got a glimpse of it. I need y'all to tell a friend to tell a friend. Be in the building. Doors open up at 6 p.m. Showtime starts at 8. Monday, 640 Evans Street, the West End. Love and light. Thank you for your demonstration. All right.
Thank you for having me.
Salute. All right. Peace.